Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome to today's card. I've got a pretty easy card for you today, not too many steps. I'm going to be using the Mod Arrow Border die by Simon Says Stamp. It's a new die that just came out. As you can see, it cuts all these arrows at once. Now I'm going to be using the arrows on another project in a couple of days, and I'm going to be using the negative of the die cut today. I've also got the Stripe Greeting set by Simon Says Stamp. I'm using the Hello from that set. I've got two pieces of Neenah Solar White cardstock cut to 3 3/4 by 5 and two Distress ink pads, Picked Raspberry and Ripe Persimmon. Now I'm going to apply my Distress ink to my cardstock here first. I've got an ink foam applicator, and what I do is I load the ink on the applicator, and then I go from the edge toward the center with my color, and what I first do is apply very light pressure. So that way you don't get those rectangular blocks. It's better to do multiple layers of light, like a light application of the ink, rather than trying to do a heavy layer of ink, and you'll get much more success that way. Now I'm going to work on the other side using the same technique. I'm going to move toward the center so that my two colors will meet and make sure that all my white is covered up. And once I get to that point, I'm going to go back and use my Picked Raspberry, as you can see right here, to go over the border between those two colors to make sure that everything is blended. Now because the Distress ink does not dry as quickly, you'll have a little bit of time to blend it. Now I'm cutting the arrows out of my other piece of cardstock using my magnetic platform. I'm just going to center it there, and you'll see I'm going to pick up my platform, and you can see how well this adheres to the platform. It's not going to come off at all. It's one of my favorite tools. Alright, now I'm going to put those arrows away for a different project, and I think they're also going to be really good for scrapbooking, so I set those aside. Now I've got these strips of black cardstock. They're about 1/8 of an inch wide, and I'm going to use a 2A glue pen to adhere them at a diagonal. And as you can see, I've cut them longer than I need them, because that way I make sure that I didn't cut them too short, and I can always trim off the excess with my scissors. Now I'm going to stamp my sentiment. Now when I first lay it down on my cardstock, I'm going to grab my Stamp-A-Majig, and that way if I don't get enough coverage the first time, I can stamp it again without any problem. And I do this because a lot of times I'm not very good at re-inking my ink pads, and if I get a dry ink pad, I can get another stamp in there and it'll come out just fine. Anyway, so this is my panel, and I'm setting it at a diagonal, and I'm trying to center it there, and I'm kind of diagonaling it as much as I can without going off the edge. And of course it didn't come out exactly perfect, so those of you who watch my videos know that usually when I'm applying a panel I usually have to do it twice. Anyway, so I'm going to make sure I get that down there, and then I'm going to take my arrow panel and I'm going to put some foam adhesive. These are just Dimensionals by Stampin' Up. I'm going to remove the backing, and then I'm going to take it and I'm going to slant it at the opposite diagonal. So I'm going to kind of diagonal it as much as I can without going off the edge of the paper. Now I have the sentiment on the lower right, and I wanted to add just something else to balance that out on the upper left hand corner. So I'm going to take my Stampin' Up! Pearls. I love to do this and color them with Copic markers. It's just such a pretty pearl when you color them. And then you have pearls of any color you want, as long as you have that Copic marker. And I usually let them dry around 10 or 15 minutes. And that way you make sure that when you use your finger to kind of press them down on the cardstock, the ink is not going to come off. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the card, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.